I took care of our dying father while my brother vanished. Turns out, he lived 10 minutes away the entire time. People say grief brings families together. They don't tell you about the kind of grief that splits the bones of a family clean in half. The kind that starts with slow heartbreak and ends in an explosion. My name is Jack, and this is the story of how I found out my brother was living a lie, 10 minutes from the house where I was spoon-feeding our father morphine soup and changing his adult diapers. Let me take you back. It started with a phone call. One of those quiet ones, the kind where the nurse doesn't even have to say the words. Just her voice, soft, measured. "You should come now, Mr. Rains. It won't be long." I was already in the parking lot when she called. Hadn't left in 2 days. Slept in the chair beside Dad's hospice bed. Used a towel for a pillow. The whole place smelled like bleach and stale breath. The kind of place that tries too hard to hide the smell of dying. Dad was a hard man. Vietnam vet, truck mechanic. Didn't believe in seat belts or therapy. He raised us like soldiers. Me and my brother Nathan. But when cancer came for him, it came with teeth. Ate away at him for 14 months until he was a husk. And through it all, Nathan was gone. "He's working overseas," Mom used to say. "He's doing aid work in Kenya," someone else offered. But no one ever had a number, or an address, or a damn postcard. For 2 years, I shouldered everything. Doctor visits, bills, hospice. I washed our father's body when he lost control of it. I held his hand when the night terrors came. I fought with the VA, begged for coverage. And through it all, I waited for a sign from Nathan. Even a damn voicemail. Nothing. So when Dad finally went quiet that morning, just a long exhale, like a sigh of relief that he was finally done with this world, I cried. But not for him. I cried because I was empty. Because grief without anger feels like being underwater with no air left to scream. The funeral was small. Dad didn't have many friends left. A couple of old biker buddies came, smelled like cigars and leather. Pastor Don said a few words about strength and sacrifice. Laura, my wife, stayed at my side, squeezing my hand until it went numb. Then, 3 days later, I found out the truth. I was grabbing coffee at the corner place near the hospice, still half in a daze, when I saw a kid I recognized. Jason, Nathan's old high school friend. They used to be inseparable until college. I hadn't seen Jason in over a decade, but there he was, older, with a toddler in one hand and a latte in the other. "Jack," he said. I nodded, managed a weak smile. "Hey man, I'm sorry about your dad. Nate told me last week." It hit me like a freight train. "You talked to Nathan?" "Yeah," Jason said, confused. "I see him all the time. He lives like 10 minutes from here." My ears rang. I almost dropped my coffee. "Wait, what?" Jason shifted awkwardly. "Yeah, he and Mia bought a place on Oakwood last year, right off Route 9. I figured you knew." I didn't say a word, just nodded like I did. Like my world hadn't just tilted off its axis. 10 minutes away, while I was draining Dad's catheter bags and rationing morphine, my brother was sipping lattes and raising toddlers in a nice suburban home 10 minutes away. When I got back in the car, I sat there for 15 minutes, engine running, hand frozen on the gear shift. Then I drove straight to Oakwood. What I found there would change everything I thought I knew about my family and about myself. Oakwood was exactly what I expected. Wide streets, trimmed hedges, and houses with porches too clean to be lived in. I turned onto a street with the kind of dread that sits behind your ribs and refuses to move. The house was easy to spot. Blue siding, American flag, SUV in the driveway. A chalk drawing on the sidewalk spelled out "Dad" in big, uneven letters. My knuckles hovered over the doorbell for a long time before I pressed it. Mia answered. I hadn't seen her in 8 years, not since their wedding. She looked good. Older, softer maybe, but still Mia. The kind of woman who made you feel like you'd just walked into your own home. "Jack." Her eyes widened. I watched her mind do the math in real time. "The funeral. The secret. The lie. Is he here?" I asked. She opened the door without a word and stepped aside. He was in the living room, kneeling on the floor with a little girl who looked just like him, building Legos, wearing sweatpants and a college hoodie like he hadn't ghosted our entire family for 2 years. "Nathan." He looked up, his face drained of color. "Jack." "Shit." He stood up slowly, like I might punch him. Truth is, I wanted to. My fists curled without permission. "You want to tell me why I had to find out from Jason?" He glanced at Mia. She ushered the kid out of the room without a word. Then it was just us. I was going to call you, he said. I laughed. Loud, bitter. When? After the dirt settled over Dad's casket? He sat down on the arm of the couch, rubbed his face. You don't understand. Enlighten me. Because from where I stand, you vanished while I was cleaning up Dad's shit and begging doctors to keep him alive. I couldn't, Jack. I couldn't go back there. Why? Because it was hard? Because he yelled when we were kids? We both grew up in that house. You think I had it easier? No, he whispered. Then what? What the hell could justify this? He looked up at me. He hit me, Jack. A lot more than he hit you. And Mom knew. She knew, and she let it happen. That stopped me. What? You were always the golden boy. You fixed cars with him, went fishing. I got the belt. The fists. He broke 2 of my ribs when I was 15. And when I told Mom, she said, don't provoke him. I sank into a chair. Why didn't you tell me? Because you wouldn't have believed me back then. You were his shadow. I didn't know what to say. My memories of Dad were strict, but proud. Stern, not cruel. But now, things didn't line up so neatly. So you just left me there with him? I didn't think he'd turn on you. He didn't. Not like that. But Mom, she got worse. After you left. Nathan stared at the floor. I didn't come to fight you, I said. I came to understand. But I'm not sure I can. Not yet. He nodded. I get that. We sat in silence. 2 brothers in a room full of ghosts. That day cracked something open. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But a fracture is still a beginning. And beginnings, no matter how jagged, mean there's more story to tell. I didn't sleep much that night. Even with Laura curled up next to me, even with the kids asleep down the hall, my brain wouldn't shut off. I kept going back over every argument Dad ever had with Nathan. Every slammed door. Every bruise I never saw. I didn't want to believe it. But I did. That was the worst part. Some part of me had always known. Or at least suspected. I just didn't want to look too closely. Because if I did, it would mean my version of our childhood wasn't real. And that maybe I wasn't the good son. Just the blind one. The next morning, Laura handed me coffee and didn't ask questions. She knew. The silence between us wasn't cold. It was protective. A blanket wrapped around something fragile. You seeing him again? She finally asked. I nodded. You want me to come with? Not yet. That day I drove to Oakwood again, this time not in anger, but in something murkier. I didn't know what I wanted. Closure? Answers? Maybe just to see if he'd show up twice in a row. He did. Nathan was already waiting on the porch. No kid, no Mia. Just him and a cooler of beers. Thought you might come. You always this cocky. He smirked. Only when I'm right. We sat. Cracked open beers. Talked about neutral stuff for a while. Football. Gas prices. The weather. Eventually, the conversation circled back. You really think I was his favorite? I asked. Nathan looked at me like I'd asked if the sky was blue. He used to call you my little legacy. Used to brag about you at the bar. Me? He said I was soft. That I was lucky to have a brother who could show me how to be a man. I let that sink in. You were always smarter than me, I said. Didn't matter. Not to him. We drank in silence for a bit. What did you do all that time? I asked. After I left? Tried to disappear. Moved city to city. Got clean. Got therapy. Met Mia in Denver. When she got pregnant, we came back. Wanted to be near her parents. And never thought to call me. I thought about it. A lot. But every time I picked up the phone, I heard his voice. Not yours. His. Telling me I was a coward. That I ran. That I abandoned you. You kind of did. I know. More silence. More beer. He never hit me. I said. I know. But Mom. She started drinking after you left. Like really drinking. And mean. I always wondered what happened to her. She blamed me for you leaving. Said I should have stopped you. Nathan winced. Damn. I don't say this to make you feel bad. I said. We both got hit. Different ways. He nodded. We sat until the sun dipped behind the rooftops, and the bugs started to bite. You ever go see her? He asked. Who? Mom? Yeah. I shook my head. Haven't talked to her since the funeral. She didn't even cry. Just stared at the casket, like she was waiting for it to move. Nathan swallowed hard. Think she knew I was close by? I don't know. She never mentioned you. Not once. Maybe she thought it was better. Or maybe she just didn't care. That landed heavy between us. I want to make things right, Jack, he said. Not just with you. With everything. I'm tired of hiding. Then stop. I'm trying. Good. Because if you disappear again, I'm not coming to find you. Fair. That night didn't solve everything. We didn't hug it out. We didn't cry. But we stayed. And sometimes, staying is the bravest thing you can do. Especially when running has always been easier. A week passed. Nathan called me every other day. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we didn't say much at all. Just stayed on the line, both breathing, trying to remember what it felt like to trust each other. Then one morning, Mia called instead. Hey, Jack. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I know you and Nate are talking again, but, well, there's something I think you should see. An hour later, I was standing in their kitchen, cup of tea in hand, watching home videos on a flat screen above the fireplace. Mia had queued up footage from a Christmas party 3 years ago, the first year they'd moved back. He watches this one a lot, she said, sitting beside me. But he never shows anyone. I think he wants you to see it. The video showed Nathan and their little girl dancing in pajamas. He was smiling, for real. Not the cautious grin he wore when we talked, but something looser, freer. Then the camera turned to the door, and there was Dad, alive, standing in that same kitchen. He looked older than I remembered, tired, but unmistakable. He was holding a plate of cookies. Where should I put these, Mia? He asked off camera. My stomach dropped. He came here. Mia nodded slowly. A few times. Never for long. He'd call first. Said he didn't want Jack to know. Said he didn't want to ruin things. I stared at the screen. I couldn't process it. My father had known. He had known. He came here. He saw Nathan. He met his granddaughter. He looked healthy in the video. Not like someone dying. When was this taken? December 2021. 6 months before the diagnosis. Did he ever talk about me? All the time. She hesitated. He told Nate he regretted what happened. Said he wished he'd been braver when it counted. Said he knew he failed you both. I sat down. Mia handed me a second mug, this one warmer, heavier. He cried the last time he came, she said. Didn't come in. Just stood outside. Said he didn't deserve to be let in. Tears blurred my vision. I wiped them before they fell. Why didn't you tell me? It wasn't my story to tell. Fair. But it still cut. Nathan came home later that afternoon. He paused when he saw the remote in my hand. You watched it? Yeah. He nodded. Took off his coat. Sat beside me. He was scared, Jack. He thought you'd hate him. He wasn't wrong. No. But he wanted to try. We sat in silence again. There was always silence. But it felt different now. Less like a wall, more like a bridge being built. Why didn't you tell me he came? Because I was still angry. Still selfish. I didn't want to share him. I turned to him. You had him while I was feeding him pills and holding his hand through nightmares. You had the best part of him left. It didn't feel like the best. It felt like a ghost asking for forgiveness. I stood up, walked to the window. He could have said something, before it was too late. He tried. Not hard enough. Nathan joined me at the glass. What do we do now? I don't know, I said. But we don't lie to each other anymore. Deal. And somehow, that felt like the first real step either of us had taken in years. That night, I went home and sat in the garage, staring at Dad's old toolbox. Inside, beneath the rusted wrenches, was a sealed envelope. My name was on the front, and the handwriting wasn't Nathan's. The envelope was yellowed, sealed tight with old glue. My name was written in thick, slanted letters that I knew better than my own handwriting. It was unmistakably his. Dad's. I stared at it for a long time before I opened it. The letter inside wasn't long. Just a page and a half, scrawled in the same black ink he always used for checks and car notes. It smelled faintly of gasoline and cedar, his scent. I read it once, then again, slower. Jack, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Probably not peacefully. I don't do much peacefully. I know you're angry. Maybe you have a right to be. But I want to tell you a few things before the silence gets permanent. First off, you were the best of me. The strong part. The loyal part. You stayed when it hurt, and I see that now. I didn't say it enough, but I'm proud of you. Damn proud. Second, your brother never deserved what I gave him. I saw the fear in his eyes more times than I saw your mother smile. I carried my own demons into that house and passed them off as discipline. That was cowardice. Pure and simple. I know you loved me, and I know that love came with a cost. There's no excuse. But I'm sorry. For everything. Take care of each other. You and Nathan. Don't let my mistakes live longer than I did. All my tools are yours. Use them better than I did. Dad. My hands were shaking. Not with grief. With something heavier. That letter was the apology I never asked for, but always needed. I folded it back up with care, slid it into my back pocket, and went inside. Laura was in the kitchen, loading dishes. "You okay?" I nodded, but she saw through it. She always did. "Was it from him?" "Yeah." "Do you want to talk about it?" I pulled the letter from my pocket, placed it gently on the counter. She read it silently. Her eyes misted, but she didn't cry, just closed her hand around mine and squeezed. "That counts for something," she whispered. "It does." The next day, I drove back to Oakwood. Nathan was in the yard, patching a spot on the fence. When he saw me, he stood straight, wiped sweat off his brow. Hey. Hey." I handed him the letter. He didn't read it right away, just looked at it like it might burn. "It's for you too," I said. "You should know what he said." Nathan nodded slowly. "Thanks." We sat on the porch again. This time, no beers. Just sunlight and the faint sound of lawnmowers in the distance. "I spent so long hating him," Nathan said finally. "And now I don't even know if I can hold on to that." "Maybe you don't have to. Maybe I still want to." "That's fair." We were quiet a while longer. Then he said, "Do you remember that summer we rebuilt the Mustang?" I laughed. "The one he bought for $100 and called an investment?" "Yeah. You did most of the engine work. I just held the flashlight." "And he still yelled at you for getting in the way." "I wasn't trying to help. I just wanted to be near you guys." I felt that in my chest. I wish I'd seen it then. We all see things late. That night, I dreamed of the garage, of oil-stained rags and that damn Mustang. And for once, the dream didn't end with yelling. It just faded into the sound of crickets. And quiet. Not peace. Not yet. But quiet. And that was a start. 3 weeks later, I got a call from a lawyer named Harper. Said he handled Dad's affairs. Not a will exactly, just some personal effects and loose ends that hadn't been picked up. "He left something for you and your brother," Harper said. "Handwritten instructions. You'll want to see it in person." I met Nathan at the lawyer's office the next afternoon. He looked better, healthier, like he'd been sleeping. I wasn't sure what I looked like. Probably like a man who'd aged 5 years in 2 months. Harper was a small man with tired eyes and a mustache that looked older than him. He handed us a box. Inside was a set of keys, a folder, and an old black-and-white photo of our dad as a teenager, leaning against a 1956 Ford. "He wanted you to see the cabin," Harper said. "What cabin?" we said in unison. Harper smiled. "It's in the Adirondacks. Been in the family since the 60s. Your grandfather built it. Your dad maintained it. It's yours now." "Why didn't we know about it?" Nathan asked. He said it wasn't ready to be handed down. Until now. 2 days later, we drove up together. The drive was long. We didn't talk much. Mostly just watched the trees change color as the miles slipped past. The cabin sat on a quiet lake, half hidden behind a wall of pines. It looked like time had stopped there. No cell signal, no internet, just the sound of wind in the leaves and water lapping at the shore. Inside, the place smelled like old wood and pipe smoke. Everything was preserved like a shrine. Fishing rods on the wall, a rifle above the mantel, a rusted tackle box in the corner. We found a note taped to the fridge. "For the days I never gave you. Spend one here. Dad." Nathan read it twice, then sat down hard on the couch. "I don't know how to process this." "Me neither." We spent the night there. Lit a fire. Cooked chili on the old stove. Drank warm beer we found in the cooler. Talked about nothing and everything. Childhood. First crushes. That one Halloween Dad tried to dress as Elvis and scared the neighbor kids. In the morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Nathan on the porch, strumming a guitar I didn't know he could play. "You learned that recently?" I asked. "Nah, been playing for years. Therapy mostly." "You're good." "Thanks." We sat in silence again, but it was different now. Less tense. More like a rhythm. Like 2 parts of a song learning to harmonize. "He left this place for us," Nathan said. "Not to escape. To remember. To forgive." "You think that's what he wanted?" "I think it's what we need." That afternoon, we found old journals in the desk drawer. Dad's handwriting. Pages filled with reflections, confessions, half-finished thoughts. One line stuck out. "There's no such thing as too late. Not if you're willing to bleed for it." I don't know if we forgave him that weekend. But we stayed. We listened. Sometimes healing doesn't look like a breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like 2 grown men learning how to sit with silence. And letting that silence say what words never could. I didn't think I'd go back to the cabin again. Not for a while, at least. But a month later, Nathan called and said, "Let's bring the girls." So we did. Laura packed snacks and books and bug spray. Nathan brought his daughter and enough gear to outfit a Boy Scout troop. The drive up felt lighter this time, like we were headed towards something instead of away from it. The girls, mine and his, became fast friends. They collected rocks, chased frogs, made leaf crowns, and laughed the kind of laughter that fills the cracks you didn't know were still there. Watching Nathan be a dad changed something in me. I had held on to an image of him for so long. A scared kid, a runaway, a ghost. But here he was, tying shoelaces and reading bedtime stories by flashlight. He was here, and maybe that was enough. That night, after the kids were asleep, we sat by the fire with Laura and Mia. The four of us. No walls. No old secrets pressing on our backs. Mia turned to me. I'm glad you two found your way back. I looked at Nathan. He gave a small nod. We're still figuring out what that way even is, I said. Laura reached for my hand. It's not about knowing the way. It's about walking it together. I smiled, a real one. The kind I hadn't felt in years. Later, Nathan and I stayed up after the women went in. The fire was low, mostly embers. He pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. Found another letter, he said. What? It was tucked behind one of the cabin photos. You weren't supposed to see this one alone. He handed it to me. It was short. Boys, if you're here together, I must have done something right in the end. I never figured out how to be the father you needed. But I hope this place gives you space to be the men you became despite me. Don't let your kids grow up thinking silence is strength. Talk. Cry. Be wrong. Show up. Love loud. Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I handed it back. Keep it, Nathan said. You were the one who stayed. You were the one who came back. We didn't say anything else. Just sat. 2 sons trying to become better fathers than the man who came before. And in that stillness, I realized something. Maybe the best apology isn't in the words we leave behind. Maybe it's in what we choose to build with what's left. Months passed. Then a year. We kept going back to the cabin. Every few weeks at first, then regularly. It became more than a relic. It became a ritual. Birthdays. Holidays. A place that held no ghosts, only echoes. Good ones. We repaired the roof together that summer. Taught the girls how to fish. Nathan brought his guitar. I brought Dad's old tackle box, still full of lures we never used. Some things were better kept as they were. And then one fall morning, I walked outside and found Nathan fixing the dock. He was humming a song I didn't know, a peaceful tune that matched the sound of water against the wood. You ever think about selling the place? I asked just to ask. He didn't even look up. No, not once. Yeah, me neither. There were moments I caught myself waiting for something to go wrong. For Nathan to disappear again. For old pain to claw its way back into the light. But it didn't. One night, after the kids were asleep and the stars had come out in full force, I turned to him and said, "Do you think he ever really changed?" He didn't answer right away. "I don't know," Nathan said. "But I think he wanted to." Is that enough? For me? Yeah. For you? I thought about it. I think it has to be. And maybe that was the answer we both needed. Because healing isn't always about justice. Sometimes it's just about finding a reason to keep moving forward without dragging the past behind you like an anchor. Before we left that weekend, we carved our initials into the side of the porch. Not a declaration, not a monument, just a mark, a reminder that we were here, that we tried, that we built something new out of everything we once lost. And when I looked out across the lake one last time, I didn't see my father's shadow anymore. I saw his son's, and that was enough. I thought that letter would be the last of it. But grief has a strange way of echoing, quiet at first, then suddenly loud in places you didn't expect. A few weeks after our last trip to the cabin, I got a call from the county clerk's office. They'd been going through old property records and found something they needed us to sign. Nathan and I met there on a rainy Thursday. The clerk slid a faded manila folder across the desk. "Your father bought a second parcel. Back in '93. It was never registered properly. Technically, it still belongs to your family." We looked at the map. It wasn't much, just a clearing in the woods a few miles south of the cabin, overgrown and forgotten. But curiosity got the better of us. So we drove. The path was muddy, half-eaten by tree roots. But eventually we found it. A small stone marker, waist-high, with a name carved into it. Not Dad's. Not anyone we recognized. Just one word. Jameson. Nathan stared at it, blinking rain from his eyes. "You don't think?" "I don't know," I said. but something in my gut twisted. We cleared brush for hours, dug up a rusted tin box buried behind the marker. Inside were old letters, water-stained photos, a harmonica, and a single note. For my brother. I hope someday you understand. We never found out who Jameson was. Dad never mentioned a brother. But that day, we realized something. Our family tree had roots we never knew existed. Hidden ones. Painful ones. Ones our father buried not out of shame, but maybe out of guilt. Nathan held the harmonica in his hand for a long time. He never told us any of this. No, I said. But maybe he wanted us to find it. Together. We didn't keep the box. We buried it again, covered the stone, and left a fresh note in its place. Found. Remembered. Forgiven. And as we walked back to the truck, I didn't feel angry anymore. Just grateful. For the road we'd taken. For the truths we uncovered. And for the family we chose to be, one piece of silence at a time. There's a picture on our mantle now. 2 men and 2 little girls, standing in front of a lake, arms around each other. Laura took it last fall. The light hit just right. The trees were fire orange, and for a moment, everything felt whole. People say you can't choose your family. That's only half true. You don't get to choose where you start, but you damn sure get to choose what comes next. Nathan and I chose to stay, to show up, to build something new from everything we were never given. The cabin became more than a place. It became proof that healing is possible. That forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It just means moving forward without letting the past pull you under.